So once we have our client bolstered and everything here and covered with the sheets, we'll be ready to begin our massage. So I'm going to first start with the resting touch, still touch, or the holding, basically the massage hello by saying I want to place my hands on my client and then do so and just rest for a brief moment, giving that little pause. And my first opening technique, I like to call this little sheet glide here. So especially if you have the blanket over your client, you can do this technique to create friction and warm your hands up while not actually having to waste time, doing awkwardly in the corner. Plus, you can still feel through the sheet and everything here and just kind of feel any tight areas and any areas you might want to focus. So you might notice too that I have one hand holding the sheet down while one hand glides, so that way I don't bunch the sheet up here. And then when we're ready and our hands are nice and warm, I can fold the sheet back here and we can move right on up into a scalp massage. So really a few techniques here for the scalp massage, which is mostly just going to be like washing someone's hair. So you can do that little herbal essence, little scratch. And then I like to do this little pin and movement here. So if you want to come up in here and just see. So what I do is I just press onto the skin and the fascia and the scalp here. And just move the skin over the scalp. You see how my fingers aren't actually sliding off of their original position? Just kind of just working it here. And notice how I'm generating this momentum and this movement with my body here by leaning. And really I just want to address all areas of the scalp, the sides, the back, and the top. So then I can come in and curl my fingers right here at the base of the skull and do this circular friction, basically the same little technique we were just doing on her scalp, just kind of working her in. So I can do these alternating circles like this, gets a little head rock, it's real nice. Or I can just do them both on the same side. And notice how, again, I just leave my hands and arms in place and I'm just generating this technique with the gyration and movement on my body. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to do this circular friction down the neck, just pinching the back of the neck here and just making these nice little circles as I go through. Oh, I'm sorry, we forgot lotion. Can you grab some Walt? And we're just going to continue this technique down the neck all the way to the base of the neck. So essentially from the base of the skull down to the base of the neck. I'll step to the side of the table, and the side of the table that you go to doesn't matter, it's your personal preference. We're doing this alternating petrissage. So one hand at the base of the neck, one hand at the base of the skull, dip down, grab, squeeze, lift, pull back, dip down, grab, squeeze, lift, pull back. And I'm just doing this alternatively, aka the alternating petrissage. Then, I'll take that. I can reach across here and I'm going to grab her trap, squeeze it, and just lift it back. So we give this the one hand trap petrissage. So I just grab and squeeze and just get a little lift. And you notice how I just lean my body weight back and forth here. Grab it and lean back. Grab it, lean back, and then do the rock away. So we're going to smooth transition to do this on the other side. And since I have a free hand, I'm able to actually, relax my hand. I could shake it out, let it get a little rest, or get myself a little bit of lotion. And now when I do my lotion application, I don't want to actually take my hands off my client. So I'm just going to warm up the lotion a little bit with my hands. And I'll just apply it straight to my client with this heart-shaped effleurage. So if you notice, I'm just going to come down along the upper back, slide over the shoulders, scoop up around the neck, and come down, making almost this heart-shaped pattern. So right now, you'll see that I'm getting a lot of movement with my arms, which, you'll hear me talk about not wanting. But I'm not really actually putting much pressure with this. I'm just essentially smearing lotion on the area. Once I got some lotion, I can actually start doing some glides, and I'll start doing some deeper glides with my palms, calling this bilateral effleurage. Bilateral meaning two sides, so one hand on each side of the spine. And notice how my wrists are relatively straight. I have a nice deep lunge, and I'm applying that pressure. So my palm glides are going to be less pressure, and when I want more pressure, I can bring my fists into the equation. So notice how I stepped in. I'm a little more over my working surface. My arms are straight, and my body weight drives me forward in this stroke. Now I could also do forearms here. We'll show those later. So my next technique is I can do this shearing effect, kind of like ocean wave petrissage. And I can do that with my knuckles and just kind of like I'm scrubbing that upper back. And then a shingling technique, which is hand over hand, kind of like how shingles on a roof are stacked over each other. So just coming right over. I'm going to do that on each side. And then I'll come into the trap doing this push-pull. So I'm going to slide down on the trap and pull back with curled fingers, coming back along the neck just like that. And you want to make this a nice little dancing technique. And I can even, so I'll filibuster as I get some more lotion. And I can even carry through with my forearm here and getting a little bit more pressure with the technique. So then I'm going to come into the rhomboid area. I'm going to do rhomboid glides, and there's a few ways you can make contact with this. You can do your fingertips, and I'm going to brace my fingertips with my other fingers, go from the edge of the spine and right towards that shoulder blade. You should see that shoulder blade start to push out a little bit. I can also use my knuckles, same effect. I'm going to move all the way down to that base of the spine here. I could use thumbs, but I always advocate not using thumbs as much as possible unless you brace them and protect them, or just straight up use the heel of my hand. So then I would do that on the opposite side. Get a little lotion while I'm doing my technique so I can do the forearm. Notice how I, keep my contact with this technique. And again, hit those rhomboids. So then I'm ready to drape the back. I can do something as simple as just pulling the sheet back until I get to their underwear, or if they're not wearing anything, just above the gluteal cleft. I can do this little palm spread technique here on the neck as well. Just taking my hands and letting them just squeeze and separate along the neck. Just be careful curling your fingers into their throat. You don't want to do that. So now I can start to take my glides, since we were working heavily in the upper back, take my glides down the back. Doing unilateral glides. Glides on the one side. So I can do that with my palms. And I can go gracefully down and up the back. When I take my palm glides up the back, I like to scoop that shoulder, get a nice little push, nice little pull. You see that nice little stretch coming in to the neck. Now, when I'm ready for some more pressure, I can use my fists. I'm going to scoop right on up over that trap and glide down. So now when you see I got the two fists here, it's really this fist that's doing the pressure, the one closer to the spine. Not on the spine, but close to it. Now with the table this high, it's not great for my fist work because you can see my fist is kind of cocked here. So with a table this high, I really want my forearms in there. So I'm going to scoop. See how I lift that shoulder up with that scoop? I'm going to turn. And I'm just going to kind of plow the softer edge of my forearm down to her low back, come up with the other forearm up the low back. You see how that low back lifted and shifted? And I'm just going to glide up. And these forearms is where you can add a lot of pressure with a lot of ease. I'm just going to glide right over that trap. Because essentially I just want to rest real heavy here on that back. And I can take this technique nice and slow. With the more pressure, the rule is the broader the base, the slower the pace. Broader the base means a larger surface area making contact with your client. Slower the pace means, well, just going slow. So basically, if you took a needle and you took, you know, say the diameter of your lotion bottle and applied X amount of pressure into the same spot, well, that needle's going to hurt more because the base of contact is finite. It's a very fine point. So then I can hit this double-fisted Petrissage here along the back, just incorporating that whole back. Takes a little muscle effort. Got to use those chest muscles here. And we can work into the low back. Now I might do my glides on the other side, but just so you can see for ease, I'm going to start with the low back here. And do this little ironing technique right here in the low back, just like I'm ironing a shirt. Just getting those wrinkles out. Real short duration. Then I can do a little fist shingling right here along the back, along that low back. Just trying to stay along the, and I can tuck this in. Trying to stay along the iliac crest here, which is the bone that is your hip. And trying to avoid being along the lower ribs, the floating ribs. Then I can do a cross arm of both. So I'm going to start with this fist coming down, and I'm going to come in with that iron technique. And you see how I'm just spreading out the low back fascia here. Nice and slow. Then I want to take her arm out of the drape here. So I'm just going to pin the edge of the drape here, and I'm just going to pull her arm out to the side so that doesn't waft or lift up the drape and make her feel exposed. I'm going to get her arm out the way so I can really focus on the low back here. And so I'm going to just do a forearm saw, which is the exact same thing of how we started those forearms, but I'm just isolating right here in that low back. After I do the forearm saw, I can come across and do this little hip lift and pull. So I can come down. Unfortunately, I need a little lotion, but as you need your lotion, right, always filibuster, don't break contact. So I can push down along that iliac crest, and then I curl my fingers and lift back up. Now if I really want a deep stretch, a real deep stretch with this, I can come down, grab, and I just let my body weight drop back as I pull and lift those hips up. And then if I want, I can even rock, and this is with clients you want to be real careful with. I can grab right here at the front of the hip, the ASIS, lift up, and I can kind of counter push along the back here. And this takes a lot of effort to be lifting up your client. So, you know, I might want to use this one sparingly, but they'll really like it for their low back work. Then I'm just going to glide right across the low back, almost on the sacrum. If I can get down far enough, I can glide right on the sacrum, and just right across the low back here. I'm going to divert my angle and come straight down into that low back and do this fulling technique, which is 2 fists pressing in, and I'm just letting my wrists slightly rotate. Kind of looks like this. And I can do a little duck pincer petrissage right there, trying to grab this strip of muscle the best I can without actually coming down too far along the belly, grabbing that fat. Then I can start adding a little bit more depth of pressure with some forearm glides, and with my client's permission, I can just rest on their glutes. So I usually ask, is it okay if we work on the glutes a little bit? And with their permission, she says yes, thumbs up, means we're good. I'm just gonna rest in nice and easy on the soft parts. So you have your sacrum here, your greater trochanter here. I wanna be like right in between on the meaty part. So I'm just gonna rest in, I'm just gonna lean in like I'm hanging out. Like, what's up, how you doing? I'm just gonna let my body weight push this forearm all the way up. In addition to this technique that I really like to add is a little bit of rocking. So I'm going to slowly start to rock her hips as I push my technique up. It's just adding that oscillation into my technique. And you can see that force transmit all the way up to her head a little bit, which that rocking generates a nice relaxing effect, especially right here at the sacral division of our nervous system, which is half of the division of our relaxation, our parasympathetic division here. Now, if the client didn't want me to actually touch their glutes, I could still come down and hold on the calf muscle and do the same thing, or the leg muscle, the thigh muscle, whichever, and still get that rock, right? So I don't have to lean on the glutes if they don't want me to. Then my next technique is to come in with 2 forearms. I'm just going to separate, doing this nice fulling technique. I need a little bit of lotion. Just a little wax on, wax off to get my forearms lotioned up. Just filibuster, little random technique to get that lotion on. Come in and separate, just letting my body weight push my arms away as I just let my body weight drop down, just working that entire back. Then I want to push her arm off to the edge of the table. I do have an armrest, which I'll use here in a minute, and then I want to come out and up. So I'm going to come up with my glide, but divert out along her shoulder blade. Now when I do this, I like to abandon the use of my hand and come in with my forearm right over that infraspinatus fossa of the shoulder blade, right over that infraspinatus here. I can divert my angle, and I can curl and pull right here along that edge of the shoulder blade. Give it a little shake if I find those tiny parts. Just a little rock, or those tight parts, and just give a little rock in there. Notice again, I'm just hooked in, letting my body weight do the motion for me. So then I can take the arm back up, and we can start working into the shoulder a little bit. I'm just going to get this lotion on her deltoid muscles here. And I can just kind of do this little scooping effleurage. Again, notice like I'm dancing, trying to get my body weight in here. I got one free hand, so I can just let that hand get a rest. And I can do this ocean wave petrissage, a little kind of counter squeeze on the technique here. and just one hand. So when I do my one hand, I like to keep my fingers braced on the table so that way I can just lean my body weight and it closes my hand for me, so I don't actually have to use muscle effort to get a good squeeze on those delts. Then I can work with some shingling right here on that infraspinatus muscle here. Just nice, not too much pressure. It's a thin muscle. You're still hitting some attachments of other muscles as they cross over, like the trapezius, the bottom inferior angle. You hit some of the lats. We can work right into the triceps. So again, with our extremities, we like to first start with glides going up the arm to kind of flush out the system here, flush out that lymph fluid, and return that blood flow. Then I can do this nice ocean wave petrissage again, just kind of using the momentum of my body to generate the technique. If I get low enough, if I had my stool, or I could just come down and just take a knee real quick, I can do this nice praying hand petrissage. I'm going to take her arm up, and we can work into the forearm now. So again, I'm going to start with my glides up. So you'll notice I have one hand here bracing and holding her hand, because if I don't, I might be pushing her arm up like that. I don't want to do that. And that the hand that I'm using for my glide is the hand on the inside of her arm, because the bulk of the musculature is right here. So that way I get the most pressure right directed into all of the muscles that I'm trying to target. So I can do this with my palms. As you just saw, I can do it with my fists. And if I really want to give my hands a break, I can come down and hit it with my forearms. I can do this little one-hand petrissage squeeze just like we had done in the traps. So notice I just use my body weight to take my technique in. Then I want to put her handshake, or her hand into the handshake position. That means her hand is, like I'm trying to shake it. How you doing, Christy? I'm going to grab her hand, interlace my fingers, squeeze in with the heels on both sides, and just pull back for the praying hand squeeze glide. Now I know we're moving down with this technique, but it's all right. We did already do a little flush, and so we can do some down techniques. Move right into the hand massage. I'm starting with the little duck pincer stripping right here along the thumb, right here along the pinky, and then I can move right here into the center, essentially working in between the metacarpals of the hand, especially right around the big meaty thumb here. Now, I like to say, don't do your thumbs. When you use your thumbs, it should be where you need them. So usually like the hands are where you need them, but not always. I could come in and still get some forearm work on the thumbs, or I can get some knuckle work. I'm gonna do this knuckle roll. So it's like I'm tapping my hands or my fingers on a desk. I'm just rolling those knuckles over this area. Then I like to do this knuckle scrape. I'm just gonna scrape, especially lightly, right over their knuckles. Scrape right along the big thumb and the pinky. And then just kind of glide over, nice broad hand over hand glide, shingle glide. I'll move into a little traction and twist with the fingers. Nice and gentle. Not much we really can do with the fingers, especially in a quick little back routine. I'll do that so on the thumb. So we're just pulling on that thumb and then we can work back up on the arm. So we're going to come into some stretches here in a little bit. I'm just going to work my way back up the body here. Now I could work and do the same thing on this side, but just for the sakes of time constraint of the video, we'll just have you repeat what we did on this side. So now what I want to do is work a little bit more in the neck. So you notice how we can kind of section off the body here. So we started in the neck and shoulders a little bit, then we went to the back and the arm, right? Never spend too much time in one area. You know, you can come down to the back and then come back up to the neck and then work your way back around. So I'm going to come into the neck and shoulders a little bit more. So my first technique is just going to be pressing those shoulders away. And I'm trying to avoid working on the bone here. Then I can do this nice deep fist glide. Just press my fists in and just let my body weight separate those fists as much as possible. Then I can take my knuckles and just pull them up along the neck. And you can see how I hook right here into the skull and can give a little traction into the neck and shoulders. Again, I can hit that knuckle roll. I love knuckle roll. It takes a little muscle effort, so you know you might not appreciating it too much. And we can even do that folding technique, just kind of a little twist of the fist here. Again, takes a little muscle effort. You know, it can put a little stress on the joints, so you might not want to use it all the time. Then I'm going to come in with the praying hand Petrissage right here on the back of the neck. And then with this, I can continue with my forearms gliding right on up the trap. And so an addition to this technique is as I get up and I lock into that trap, I can now kind of press the trap away. I give a nice little light pull on the skull here. Get a little traction. I'll do that on the other side. I can get my hook right in and work. I can even just kind of, you know, get that praying hand with my forearms as well. Now, this works well because, well, I'm a man and I don't have a nice wide front load here. So for some of our students and viewers out there, if you have, you know, certain anatomy that might be resting on the back of your client's head, you might want to forego some techniques like this. So then I can use my forearm techniques to just drive me up and do that nice deep glides with my forearms right there bilateral. Like we said at the beginning of the video, I could do my forearms here, but I'll save it for later. And here's the later. So I usually like to always end my massages here with a little bit of a stretch. So let's go ahead and back into those arms to demonstrate our stretches. So our first stretch is going to be this nice, easy traction in the shoulder. So I'm going to brace here by holding on her arm real gentle and cut the shoulder and pull the shoulder. And you can see you get this nice little stretch in the traps, levator, and all those shoulder muscles. Then I'm going to take her arm, I'm going to place her hand behind her back. Now, not all clients might be able to do this. If you feel restrictions in doing this, you can ask your client to put their hand on their low back. And if they can't do it at all, there's no issue. You can still, you know, keep the arm on the table to get a similar effect. But you'll notice now we got the shoulder blade popping up, and we can really work underneath and really scoop up that shoulder. And I can easily add a external rotator stretch by just gently pressing on the elbow. And I'll ask her if, let me know if she has any, pain or discomfort with her elbow or shoulder joint. And then I can really work. It just opens up that shoulder blade a lot more, and I can really get those muscles attaching to that edge of the scapula. Then I'm going to thread through, interlace, and I like to lock in at the elbow because that gives me the most control. I'm just going to lift. So I can hold her shoulder and get a nice little lift here. So our client here might feel a little uncomfortable. We start lifting her up and feeling exposed. So what I can do is I can just take the edge corner of the drape and just lift her up. Now we can really get this a nice deep stretch. If I come to the other side of the table, I'm going to hold her elbow, I'm going to cup her shoulder, and I can really pull her into this nice deep stretch. I'll let that arm down, and then I can press onto the hip to get a nice little counter rotation. And I'll just let her slowly back out. I'm going to take her arm out to the side. We're going to stretch the pecs. So I want the palm to face towards the floor. And there's a few ways I can do this. One is I like to just tell them, I'm going to rest your hand on my shoulder here. And I usually will do this with my stool. I just got a little limited room here. And I can just stand up. And what I'm doing with my free hands is I'm just keeping her shoulder rotated out, external rotation. And the same thing here, if I need, I can keep her covered for that stretch. And with this, I can get that other free hand and I can kind of strip the pectoral muscles while I'm in this stretch, just scooping right underneath the collarbone, pulling out towards that shoulder. And this is easy for me. I can theoretically stand here for a while and get that nice deep stretch. I'm going to come down, out. I always want to let the joint just kind of rest, reset before I move into the next stretch. I'm going to pull her arm forward, arm overhead. I'm going to pull. So overhead stretch, nice and easy. I'm going to place her hand behind her head. Now if they can't get it that far, I can just place it right here on the headrest, and that's fine. But I'm going to place it right here on the headrest. Boom. Nice little pec stretch. And you can always move dynamically with your stretches first. Come in, feel that stretch, ooh, and then release. Come in, feel that stretch, then release. And then by the third time I come in and I hold for some time. Then I want to slide down this hand. I'm just going to lift up. And this, not all clients can do this one. So this is going to stretch out those triceps, going to get those lats. And I can even just kind of glide down. I can hold her arm here and just glide down on those lats in this stretch. And then that usually ends my stretch there, and I would just put her arm right here underneath the, or on the armrest. So now if you're in a pinch for time and you wanted to do your stretches, well, with some practice, you can actually do just about all of those together. So I'm going to come in, thread, come in, thread. I'm going to squeeze. I call this the angel wings. And just squeezing those shoulder blades back. And I can lean side to side to, stretch out on one side over the others. Right? And then just gracefully holding her arms can come out to the sides. Keep that rotation. Pec stretch. I'm gonna let her arms come down and just hang for a second while I get into position right here on my stool. And now if you're comfortable with your client and your client's comfortable with you, I can tell her, go ahead, hold on to my hips here. I'm gonna hold on to right above her elbows, and I'm gonna push back, leaning my weight, and it's gonna get a nice, deep stretch along those lats. Then, both hands on the back of the head, lift. Ooh. Take both hands back, go ahead and just push them down. There you go. Look at that, she's in a little mantra state there. I got her praying hands. Look at that. And then we'll just slowly let them come down and place those arms right there on the armrest. And then the last few techniques kind of just incorporate the whole back. So I just get a little lotion since she's dried up here to do those. And now I don't always like to glide all the way down the back. You know, you can use it as a nice little stretch for yourself, like ah. Don't let your clients hear you say the ah though. When I glide down, I can do a few things. One, I'm gonna slide down to the side, and I'm gonna curl my fingers and scoop up and hook that shoulder blade like we did earlier, and just pull it with both hands and just pull right up along, just scooping it. When I glide down, I can come in and I can do my fulling on both sides. Again, some more fulling, easy to add in. Another one of my favorites is when I glide down, knuckle roll right there in that back, and then I'll slowly move this knuckle roll up the lower back a little more. And then I can even just kind of grab the hips and just do this little oscillation in the hips here. Just get that little movement, because movement is the cure in a lot of cases. Our life, our bodies are meant to move, so movement is great. Reintegrate that movement into our nervous system. And then when I glide down, I can grab the drape, pull it back over, and I usually like to give my client a nice little wipe down to finish the massage. And so that is your back routine.